Over the next few minutes, you'll watch a few selected moments from Smooth Saturation 2.0, a course with over 4 hours of content where Fabio Guerreiro shows in detail how he builds a smooth, clean, and controlled saturation technique. Throughout the course, you'll see design building, contrast, materials, needles, dilution, how the skin works, and real execution. This preview is not the full course. It's just a first look at what's inside. Enjoy the preview.
Watch this course when you can truly focus, with no distractions. Throughout the lessons, I'll be explaining technical, fundamental details, and if you skip steps or classes, it's very likely that in the end, the pieces won't fit together the same way. This course was designed like a puzzle, and every lesson has a purpose. Every detail builds toward the final result. If you trust the process and follow it in order, in the end, everything will make sense. And that's where the real secret happens. Over the years, I've tested pretty much every technique out there to get the best results in black and gray realism. With time, I stopped chasing the perfect technique and started realizing something far more important. Every technique has its place, its moment, and its purpose. And today I work with a very specific set of techniques that lets me deliver consistent, predictable, high-quality results strategically for each project and each skin type. Simply put, 3RL whip shading, ideal for small tattoos or pieces with lots of detail and precision. It's the technique I recommend to beginner artists because there's very little room for error. Once you've mastered it, it's practically impossible to mess up. Mastering shadows is an extremely fast, efficient technique for creating clean, high-contrast shading. It works in pretty much any kind of design. And it's the technique I recommend for more commercial black and gray work and for general client requests. Simple, solid, and consistent. Then, of course, there's mapping, my go-to technique for maximum longevity, less trauma, better healing, and superior aging. Ideal for larger projects, for those who are looking for true technical excellence. Smooth saturation, of course, an extremely gentle technique where patience is the secret ingredient to reach the highest level of realism. It's the kind of mastery that separates good from extraordinary. Smooth saturation is the technique that makes people stop scrolling and zoom in. It's exactly this technique that we're going to demonstrate in this course. Understand it and master it. Okay, with smooth saturation, to make the design stand out, we're going to need to create shadows that enhance the design. In other words, if we add too many tiny textures, we'll end up killing that super smooth gradient look where the transitions are practically invisible. Here the smooth saturation stands out, because there is a shadow with long, saturated, uniform gradients that give it depth. Therefore, all of these textures like this. In this course, this pack is available. That is, these here are some extras we have in a separate pack. Here in the Ink Mentors pack, you will find several types of brushes you can use to benefit your design. Here we will use a brush that I use a lot, these snake-like strokes, and we will play with the shape of the snake. That is, by checking our design here in 3D, I can see how it flows. So we will place the snake here in a way that benefits the design. It will never look right the first time. You won't just drop it there and have it look good on the first try. The face is pointing forward. The interesting details are all here on the front. And we have a design which is very important as well. So we have a design that from afar is readable. Great, much better indeed. For those who have taken other courses with us, this is familiar. Under me, you'll always have the design placed exactly in the area we're working in. This helps you buy directly and better understand each decision based on the reference as shown. Here, right beside the reference, you will clearly see the tones that are currently being used in real time, and the active tones will always appear like this, as shown here, with a bright red outline. Alongside the tones, you'll have other information, such as the needles I'm using in real time, the voltage, which will hardly vary, and the stroke. In this case, the stroke will always remain 5 millimeters. Feel free to use whatever you feel most comfortable with, but personally, I get the best results with this setup. And this is our main area of the screen where the whole process will take place. At times, we will use 2 different camera angles so you can see not only the process, but also how the needle works on the skin. From time to time, we will briefly remove some information from the screen to give more space to close-up shots, but this will be for a short while. For most of the class, I'll be here to explain step by step, but there will also be moments, few, but some, when my screen will be away so you can simply observe the technique in more detail and at a calmer pace. Regardless of the technique used, I always start by marking the safety zone with a watermark. This watermark indeed gives me greater stability while I work, since I don't have to worry about the stencil fading away. I do this with a very light watermark, in other words, a barely perceptible shade, and I apply no pressure. It's just a light scratch with paint, no pressure, not aiming for steadiness, and not worrying too much about whether the line ends up straight or a bit crooked. It's only a small, simple mark. And heads up, in zones with shadow transitions, the stencil is there only to mark those transitions, so I don't do this kind of marking, because it would interfere with the smoothness of shading. If I have a line there in the middle and try to shade over it, that line will absorb more ink, since the skin is already open right now, so it will spoil the gradient we are working on. Continuing here on the lips, as always, we trace with a waterline to keep the shapes, and we work a little more with the needle's edge. Since space is quite limited, I always try to move backward, but if space is not enough, you may go with the needle's tip, carefully, without much pressure, to avoid upsetting the consistency you're working on, keeping the same hand pressure. Here we ask again the usual question. You know what it is. Is this a shadow with a gradient, or a solid shadow with no transitions? Answering these questions tells you which tone to start shading with and which hand movement to use for shading. And remember, any movement, whether a continuous circular motion, pendular, or just backward, must always be crosshatched at all times. Between each layer, you should carefully erase the shaded needle's path in different directions every time. One of the crucial points to make the shadow truly very uniform, since you are removing any direction caused by the needle. Scroll where the eyes will be drawn at each stage. Our brain, when it looks at something, always prioritizes what is easiest to read visually. Brighter areas draw attention. Then, attention disperses to secondary details until reaching tertiary elements like nodes, which we use in background textures. Mona Lisa, for example, was painted exactly this way. A face, chest, and hands brighter, drawing the eye, surrounded by darker elements such as the hair and the dress. Then the mid-toned background, so it wouldn't be as dark as the dress, nor as light as the skin tone, keeping the highlight on the main subject. Imagine the dress entirely white. Eyes would first fall on the dress, reducing emphasis on the face, hands, or chest. Another good example is Leonardo da Vinci's The Lady with the Ermine. But the better you understand each step of this course, the faster your progress will be, and each detail will complement the others. You may master needle placement, but if you don't understand how skin works, or when you can start a second layer, the needle position won't matter. If you master these factors, but don't understand that design is what highlights the technique, then nothing will make sense. If you master 3 factors and don't understand contrasts, your pieces will never have same impact or same importance. You may master all of these steps, but if you do not apply the eyeliner on the surface to define the shadows, or you do not understand the final plan, the result will never be the same. You need to put all the pieces together in these steps in order to truly stand out as much as possible from most other artists. So folks, please watch each module and every step. This must be learned step by step until it becomes automatic. I truly guarantee we have no secrets at all. We are applying everything right now. Everything is shown step by step. The only cuts we make are to keep it from getting tedious, the tattoo cleaning part. I think everyone really knows how to do that. So we don't need that part where we're cleaning the tattoo at all. We try dynamic cuts so it won't be dull, and you can return to this course as often as needed without fearing that it will be dull for you while you learn at your own pace. There are no secrets at all in this course. Even in the first version of smooth saturation, we used a different approach, done with maximum saturation and extreme smoothness. And before I share my final opinion and the course summary, I want to tell you something very important. Ink Mentors offers student support, and from time to time we send an exclusive drop to some members of the community right away. But there is a very specific detail we want you to understand clearly, because this is different. In addition to standard course participation certificate, as with all our courses, we will offer a higher level, our Gold Certificate. The Gold Certificate is more than a participation certificate. It comes from active curation by our team, where we assess your consistency and precise use of the smooth saturation fundamentals and visible progress in your work. This certificate will be useful in many ways indeed. It will grant professional recognition and open future opportunities, such as guest spots in our studios, appearances at Ink Mentor's stand at conventions, and other perks will build over time for you too. Now, the question is, how can we best keep track of your progress? In the simplest, most straightforward possible way. We really need to see your work, and so that we can see your work to follow your journey using two essential channels. The first is the broad public exposure. Every time you publish your results, please clearly identify Ink Mentors in your posts, reels, or stories. Our social media team monitors these tags to highlight the best work on our official pages, giving global visibility to our most dedicated artists. Direct contact comes next, indeed. Do not miss joining our exclusive WhatsApp community. That's where we all meet to exchange technical feedback.
You've just watched only 10 minutes of the course. Inside Smooth Saturation 2.0, you'll find over 4 hours of lessons, with the full process explained step by step, from design creation to real application on skin. Along with the lessons, you also get support materials, timestamped timelines, a certificate of participation, and access to the Ink Mentors community. The full technique is inside Smooth Saturation 2.0. Join now and learn the complete process.